What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday afternoon, morning for some that are in the central area. Just want to welcome you guys to the Real Estate Power Play. Does everyone hear me good? Kind of want to make
Yes.
sure my
Perfect.
All right, guys, we have an awesome day today, a good podcast that we have set up with a good friend of mine. And then we also have Mark. Mark, man, how you been? It's been a little bit of time since I've talked to you.
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Yeah, it has been. It feels like it's been forever. Like you and Ronnie. You know, it's been.
Where is your location
bit.
this time? Every time I talk to you, you're in a different.
I'm actually out in I'm in Palm Springs, Palm Desert area.
Cool.
It was crazy. The Saturday it was 101 degrees out here, and then tonight it's going to be 44. So talk about the difference. But
that is wild.
I'm missing Florida right now. I hear the weather's beautiful back home right now. How about the weather where you guys are?
We're doing good. It's kind of a nice, cool, rainy weather before we start hitting the hot season. So this is good right now. We're happy.
Good.
Guys, look, man, we have some really cool stuff. One, this is a good friend of mine that I've known for many years we have done networking events together. She is definitely part of North Houston Real Estate Investors, which is the largest networking group in North Houston. And we started off as a group of 5-6 people in a room talking about real estate. So this is literally one of my oldest friends in real estate. I call her my big sister because she gets on me sometimes on certain things. And she definitely knows her stuff about Airbnbs. And she's been doing this for a while. And so we're going to just pepper her with questions. She's going to share content, information, tools, maybe websites that we need to go to know how to develop. So if you want to know more about Airbnbs or short-term rentals or strategies, we need to put her comment and her stuff in the her info in the comments, so you can call her or connect with her. She'll definitely help you out and grow your business. And then ask some questions on here, guys, because we'll be happy to do it. So like our stuff, post our stuff. If you like the content that we give out, ask us questions for the next time, and we'll maybe get some of those type of speakers on here. So to get going, Maria, what's up?
Good morning. Good morning. I am in Louisiana right now. So I'm not near So this is the beauty about doing stuff remote. You know what I mean? Short-term rentals definitely allows you to do that. You have a good team behind you, you can do it.
That's awesome. So Louisiana, how's the weather over there?
Wonderful. It's a little humid, but still, I mean, it's nice. We had a good storm come in last night, but yeah, the humidity is a little bit, tough, but it's all good. I'm used to it. Houston is about the same.
Are you near New Orleans? What part of Louisiana are you in?
Yeah, I'm in Lafayette.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Great food out there.
Oh,
I love New Orleans. Yeah. Oh my God, the Cajun. Oh.
Yes, I've been learning a lot about Cajun.
So let's jump into this. So one, let's hear a little bit about your story for those who might want to be encouraged, maybe newer investors that are just trying to figure out what strategy really works for them. I think everybody who's watched these shows have stayed in the Airbnb or short-term rental by now, right? And so my thing when I walk away from the beach houses and stuff is like, man, I think I could do this myself. Maybe I could pick up some of you just have that feeling of going, I could do one of these. And then you go on about your way, and then no one does anything. So how did you get started in short-term rentals? Just tell us a little bit about, what you do.
So obviously, like you mentioned, we have a history of real estate, in general. And then so just coming across great individuals, great people to meet and network with. One person that I met was, they had Airbnbs and they were offering a class. So I was like, you know what, I've been staying at Airbnbs when I travel and stuff. And it, like you said, it sounds like an amazing thing. It's easy. Just put furniture and, start making some cash flow, right? Some passive income here. And so anyway, so it was just a very, small class, and it was just more the introduction to it. And so my partner and I, Donna, decided, you know what, we're good friends. We like to travel. Let's give it a try. Let's host. Let's we like to, again, travel and meet people and stuff like that. And so I said, let's just do it. So we did. We set up a company that we started then, looking for property. So we didn't decide to do a purchase. We are doing actually rental arbitrage. And so for those that don't know what rental arbitrage is, you rent a property from a landlord, and you don't have, you know what I mean, the heavy deposit for a loan to buy a property and stuff like that. So basically you start off with a smaller investment of, you know, basically putting in the furniture, the deposits, the rents, you know, and that kind of stuff. One thing that I tell people when they come to me is like, should I tell my landlord that I'm doing Airbnb? I'm like, absolutely. I don't want to invest in something that I'm going to upset my landlord and he says, you're out of here. You know, as a matter of fact, you know, it's important that you do have a good communication with your landlord. So what I love is, again, the part of meeting people, getting to know their story, you know, even contributing to, you know, sort of a way to a purpose or something that is good in life. You know what I mean? Like we just had some people come in that were wanting to stay they were actually leaving to Ukraine. They were SARS, the search and rescue team. And so of course they have all this big Humvee with all the equipment and stuff, and staying at a hotel was not an option for them. You know, they needed to sort out medical supplies and make kits and stuff. So anyway, so it was pretty neat to be able to help with that, and then hear them say, thank you so much for hosting, and thank you for allowing us to do this. And those are the parts that, at least for me, it's gratifying. So I love all that part. I mean, you know me, Gabe. You know I'm all about people. And so for me, I love that.
That's awesome. Okay, so for those who don't know, I don't know how many deals Maria and I have done together. She has done a lot of deals. She's been a really big connector in our space, and just in the Houston metro area, and knowing a ton of people. So one of the things that I've seen her do, and then you can bounce off of that, is really learn how to build relationships with those people that are around in that space, and then really glean from them. And you have a great gift of gleaning and learning from other people and asking them questions. So for a new person, what would you suggest if they need to get involved with Airbnb? Right? Short-term rental. What's the first step? I mean, you have your experience, you help people go through this process now. What are some first steps that we need to talk about?
Well, obviously, first step is, have you experienced an Airbnb staying at one, you know, so you can know what it's about, you know, and as a guest. And besides that, you know, obviously starting to get out and, you know, reading books. There's a whole bunch of people online that offer free, you know, introduction to Airbnb, free methods of starting. I mean, there's such a gamma of things of how you can start on Airbnb, besides purchasing, besides doing rental arbitrage. I mean, you could do hosting, you could start a cleaning, you know, all that kind of stuff that goes with it. But to me, the most important thing is start getting to know people that are doing it, you know what I mean? And find where can you set yourself to learn from someone that is already doing it or have an introduction to it. I have been able to help some of my friends and stuff, and I'm now starting to look at, you know, doing a little bit more of just helping, and maybe start teaching a little bit of how to introduce yourself into the Airbnb way of hosting and setting up. And again, who you know, and getting to know yourself. What is it that you want to get out of it? You know, what is your passion for, you know, in doing something like this, and who do you want to cater to especially?
Perfect. I have a question, if you don't mind. So when you're first starting out and you're looking at a property, like, where do you find the properties? Where do you go? And then what kind of conversation do you have with the seller? And how do you know if that property's okay to do Airbnb and it's not like in an HOA, kind of like, you know, from the beginning stage? Like, because I don't do Airbnbs, but I do sandwich lease options, so I know it. But you know, if I want to go through that process and kind of look at a home and see if it would be good qualified for an Airbnb, and then what kind of conversation you have with the seller.
Right. The most important thing is definitely looking at the area you want to be. First of all, is it in an area that you live in that you want to be nearby, or are you going to be doing this remote? Like those are key things, you know what I mean? How is your team behind it? How are you setting up your cleaning? How are you setting up all this? Are you going to be remote? So where is the location? The location has to have amenities. Amenities meaning, you know what I mean? If you're going to be at a beach vacation home, obviously you have to have the services to be able to cater to that avatar. You know, when you're in the city, are you near, you know, conferences? Are you near, you know, where there's a lot of competition in sports, you know, where people and families can come? Then you have to accommodate to that avatar. So that's what you look at. Okay, so if you, as a buyer of a property and you're doing your lease options, it's like, okay, this property right here, what is around this area that would allow me to rent this property as an Airbnb, as a short-term rental? And when you take a look at that, okay, there's hospitals here, then that's my avatar. Okay, is there, you know, a lot of hotels that have conferences? Okay, I can cater to the big team of people coming into the area, you know, along with the medical. So basically looking at what is available in the area to be able to cater to that, and develop your avatar, develop who you're going to be placing and what amenities you'll have to have in order to attract those people.
Very nice. And where do you look for these properties? Do you go on like Zillow, or how do you find these properties? And then what kind of, how do you have that conversation with the homeowner? Now, and also, how long do you do the agreement with the homeowner that owns a property that you're subletting it from?
If it's a rental arbitrage, you know, definitely I go through MLS. You know, I go through MLS. I have been in some of my rentals now, and I'm driving around, and all of a sudden I see, this just happened a few weeks ago. My landlord wants his house back, and so we're like, okay, we need to find another property in the area. So I drove around and just happened to see a house, just like we do for driving for dollars for real estate, for purchase. Oh, there's a house with no blinds, no covers, you know, let me go see. And sure enough, the tenant had just left. So I approached the owner and say, listen, I have a property in the area already. I'm looking for another one, and this is what I do. You know, and they have a choice. I mean, you know what I mean? Again, at the end of the day, I don't want to do anything that my landlord doesn't approve of, because I want to have that relationship with them. I want it for long term. And a lot of times I want to do a year to 2 years to 3 years of a rent, of a lease, because that's what first year is just basically me making my investment back from the, you know, furniture and amenities that I put into the property. After that, obviously, you know, we're starting to make the money because that has already been paid. So 2 to 3 years would be ideal.
That's awesome. I got a couple things that are coming up, and I don't know what order I want to go in, but let's answer Tim's question because he's on live right now. So Tim's asking this. He says, any thoughts about the new Airbnb rules regarding the guest refund justification? We are getting our first short-term rental ready. I've seen a bunch of hosts on social media upset with the new regulations.
You know, it's being proactive and setting everything in your rules, you know what I mean, so that you can avoid certain things. So making it clear that, you know, you represent your property the way it is. I mean, even though we want to show pretty pictures, but in the rules we have sections where we can you know, impose or put information about, you know, this is for example, this is an older home. You know what I mean? You might have, you know, to wait a little longer on the hot water, you know, that kind of stuff. Because yes, we're getting quite a bit of Airbnb is not a host-friendly platform. They are a guest-friendly. You know what I mean? They cater to the guests. And so as long as you make sure that you cover everything on your rules, you are proactive, you should be able to have, or the other thing too is try and develop your more direct bookings. You have other VRBO. I think Google is starting to do a travel as well, to kind of compete with. I don't know all the details, but I just read that up, not too long ago. So, I mean, there's options, and obviously, doing Facebook marketing and that kind of stuff will help you find more direct, so that you can get away from the Airbnb platform per se.
What is the new rule? I'm not even aware of it since I'm not in it. Can you
I
explain
don't
a little
have
bit
it in
what happened?
front of me. I don't have it in front of me. I'll put it on here on the notes in just a
Okay.
little bit.
So it makes it more different. So it seems like they can do a little bit more what like a consider a chargeback or a refund after they stayed there for a period of time.
Refund. Yes. And as a matter of fact, I mean, it's seriously, so a guest can put whatever they want on their review, but if it's not a 5-star review, we get penalized. So if you have 2 under 4-star reviews, basically they sometimes can shut your page, your listing. So I had, for example, and when you get, when you grow and you have multiple listings, that will happen, because a lot of times, you just have those bad guests, or you have guests that are just not easygoing or whatever. But again, being proactive and stating up front, making sure that you have that communication with a guest, when they come in. It's all in the process of receiving the booking and communicating right away with your guest. Okay, here are the rules. This is what it is. If there's anything that you need, or there's a problem with a property, I need you to contact me right away and not after the booking. So again, being
Right.
proactive eliminates so many of the problems and
I think
issues.
you mentioned it multiple times, but I don't know. And I've seen, I've seen Maria firsthand, while we're out looking at other properties, when you and I would be driving back when we used to drive the roads a lot, and I would see you in the passenger seat on the way to the next networking event, hammering these things out. I don't know if people understand just what proactive means,
Okay.
right? When you're doing some of this, because I've seen you do it, and I've seen you grow through this process, and now you have these systems in place. So can you name maybe a couple things of like, what's a system that you're like, you need to have this in place to be a 5-star person?
Right. So first off, again, acknowledging the booking, and then basically planting that seed. If there's anything that you need, please reach out. We are looking to, we're looking to, oh my God, I can't think of the word. I type it all the time and now I can't think of it. We're looking for your 5-star review. We want to earn your 5-star review. So already planting the seed, this is what I'm looking for. If there's anything you need, we will do all that we can to accommodate. You know what I mean? So they're already getting all the warms and fuzzies of, okay, she's willing to work with us and whatever. So, and again, as they arrive, make sure that they arrive okay. So that's what I'm saying about being proactive, is the communication with a guest is important. You know what I mean? And again,
So it's like, okay, you have arrived. Mark has joined in. He does a lot of Airbnbs. Mark travels the world all over the place, and he's always in our Airbnb somewhere. He doesn't do very many hotels. And so he gets it, and he could probably tell which ones are the better host, right, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. You can tell a difference. For me, what I really like is when you go to an Airbnb, especially when I'm traveling. And one of the main reasons why I stay at Airbnb is because of the washer and dryer amenities. It makes it
right.
so huge. So especially if I'm staying in an area and I'm spending a week there, it makes it so much easier. Plus when we travel, we don't like to check luggages. We like to put it up above. So we tend to do a little bit more laundry. So it's easier to be mobile, especially when you're in Europe, you're jumping on trains. So that's why we really love the Airbnbs. And then we also love the location, where you just walk out the door and you got all the restaurants and all the amenities right there. That's what we look for in our Airbnbs. And so far, every single one's been good. Sometimes, where we tend to be disappointed is where they don't provide like the soap for the detergent, where some Airbnbs, that's kind of where I'm looking at that's what I look at Airbnbs. But, that's one of the things we look for. And then the other thing that makes it convenient is sometimes they allow you to check in a little earlier, especially if you've been flying all night and you're taking a red eye, and they allow you to check in a little bit earlier there. So that we look for those two things. But I love Airbnbs. I mean, I stayed at some phenomenal ones.
Right. That's important. I mean, that's when in the initial greeting, we always say, I always put in there, if you're looking for an earlier check-in, we do allow a 1 o'clock check-in. I mean, there is a fee because many of times if I book a late check-in on the previous night and then an early check-in, I have to bring a team of cleaners. So, you know what I mean? It's all justifying. And like you said, providing the laundry, providing the basics in the kitchen is important. All that stuff is what makes and allows people to feel comfortable to coming in to an Airbnb versus a hotel. I mean, and of course, I mean, my avatar is more to a bigger group. So I have more of a family, bigger houses. I don't do apartments. Apartments to me are just too cheap and the turnarounds are too fast. And you know what I mean? It's just, and you're still, kind of might get into somebody partying in a 2-bedroom apartment, because there's a pool. So for me, what I cater to is the houses and families, people that come to conferences, more business like, and yes, we have washer dryers, we have basic amenities in the kitchen, cooking oil, olive oil, that kind of stuff, and they all love that. Coffee available. So all that is so important when you're looking at building. Again, just take a look at what you would like if you were to show up at an Airbnb, and those are the amenities that you would like to have is what people are looking for. And especially looking at the avatar you have, who are you catering to?
This is good. Oh, wait, Mark, you muted.
Sorry, I got a question. I notice in Europe, a lot of times we tend to use Booking.com instead of Airbnb. What's the difference? Do you use Booking.com as well?
I don't. I haven't. We used to have a listing. It's just, I mean, people like it, and yeah, a lot of times it's, especially for the bigger houses, people like to use Booking.com. We've just kind of stayed with Airbnb for now and doing some direct bookings. We do some marketing on Facebook as well. But Bookings.com it definitely has a bigger rod of viewers and people that reach out, but it's mostly for bigger houses and also longer stays. So and it is a little bit more expensive than Airbnb, believe it or not. So, but
expensive for you or expensive for the? Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, we actually had an experience because I don't know how it worked, but on Booking.com somehow we were having a problem checking, and this was in Italy. We're actually in the Tuscany region. We're spending a couple of days in the villa out in the Tuscany in the vineyard. It was beautiful, but we couldn't book it. And the hosts are like, "Oh, just come over. We'll allow you to stay here." But through Booking.com, they're giving a discount. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to honor this, right?" So then we go to check out, and they weren't honoring the discount, and they're charging us outrageous amount of money. And then they're like, "Oh, you know what? We're just going to call the police on you if you don't pay this." And then they blocked our car where we couldn't get out. And then they're like, "You're supposed to be up by 10 o'clock. Now we're charging a penalty." I'm like, "Wait a minute, you're not allowing us to leave." So I had the whole thing on video, but I was just crazy experience. It's the one experience I've never went through where we had to text message anything because we didn't go through Booking.com. We couldn't file a report. We couldn't give a bad review or anything. So, and they're like, "Oh, just come direct and you can pay us directly. We have a credit card machine." So be wary of that. That was one experience. So I'll never go outside of one of the platforms.
Wow. So no, we had a listing, like I said, on Booking.com, and it's just on VRBO, and we would get a lot of spam or scams. You know what I mean? It's like, "Let me bring you a check when I get there," and I'm like, "No, I'm not blocking my calendar." Again, you just have to be wary. It's like, it might sound so good, but it's not so good. So
I get it.
I have a question back to when you're talking to the seller. Do you offer them a little bit more in your monthly payments since you're doing you just whatever the market rent is or whatever you're negotiating is, you try to get Smart.
Right.
Right.
Many a
Now,
times. Go ahead.
so my other question, well, you can finish answering that because I had another question on top of that. Like, do you look for houses that are furnished as well, or because I looked at partnering up with one time to do an Airbnb house, and it was like a 4 or 5 bedroom. I'm like, God, we're gonna have to dump in $30,000 just for the furnishings.
Right. I mean, yeah, furnishings can easily be 10,000 easily to 20,000, depending, on a regular house, what we've been putting together. So when I talk to the landlords, many times I ask and I introduce myself as looking to do a long-term lease, right away, because a lot of times when I say I'm doing short-term rentals, they're like, well, I don't want to less than a year. No, 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 no. I want a contract with you for long term, if possible 2 years. So then what happens is many times they're like, well, okay, so how much are you going to pay me a month? I'm like, well, what's the market? What are you asking? So when they give me the price, it's like, that's what you'll get. I will pay you your rent every month on time, every month. Not a problem. Whether I have vacancy or not, it's not your problem. Well, how about the margin you make in between? I'm like, that's my business, not yours. And that's what it is. I mean, you're not in that business. I mean, you will get your rent, your house will be in good shape, your house has eyes on it all the time. I mean, even if I do have a person that stays for a month, 2 months, 3 months, I ask to have a cleaning every month because I want eyes on that property. At the end of the day, your property is my product.
That's so
So
good.
a lot of times that's how they're like, okay, well then let me take a look at it, but I don't usually look for furnished homes by the landlord, just because more than likely it's going to be in the way, and it's not something that is in style or anything. I don't do luxury homes or apartments. I'm sure that luxury homes would probably be different. If it was furnished, it would probably be good taste. But a lot of like the 3-4 bedroom houses that landlord decides they don't want to move the furniture is usually not a good one. So I tend not to go find any that are already furnished.
Okay, so we're getting into this is good. Now, if you're just now listening to this and you're interested in doing this, we'll put Maria's contact information. Obviously, we don't know enough about this as far as Mark and I, because we're just asking her questions and she's just doing great. Looks like by the questions that are coming in, we're going to start answering some more of the technical type questions, like the numbers and stuff like that. So what are you getting insurance on these things?
Yes, we have our own insurance up to $1 million, just to make sure that, as kind of peace of mind for us ourselves as well as our landlord. And that's also a sell for my landlord to know that at the end of the day, their house is being also, insured from any damages, or up to $1 million. Now, if you're doing the bookings through Airbnb offers $1 million as well. But then you have to go through the process of them approving,
if
a
something
claim.
does happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, we do insure our properties. Again, just to have the peace of mind. We haven't had to, knock on wood, use any of it. I mean, that being proactive, meaning making sure that you vet your guest in some sort of way, because sometimes you just have that feeling. It's like, okay, why are they only booking for one person and it's 14 people to sleep,
right.
And it's a pool house,
Right.
So those are the things that you have to kind of be aware.
All right. So we have multiple questions from Cole. He's a good buddy of ours that does some investing in Dallas area. So he's asking, I'm guessing he's saying, like, as you're assessing some of these, what's your vacancy rate that you normally earmark for your analysis?
So I tend to put 20% vacancy, figure it in for my cost, just to be on the safe side. And I always look for, to profit, minimum 30 percent. But up to 40, 50 is obviously 40 could easily be done. But my minimum is 30. That's how I figure my analysis.
Okay, so you're looking at the conservative side, worst case scenario, going, okay, worst case scenario, yeah, I think this thing might work. Let's look at the positive. Let's look at the best case scenario. Oh, wow, this is really good.
Right.
Okay, so another question by him. This goes into some of the tools that you're using. He's mentioning AirDNA. Do you use AirDNA whenever you're doing your researching?
Yes, we do use AirDNA. AirDNA gives you an analysis of what comparable into that area, what this home would possibly give you as an annual, gross income. So it's, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good tool to have to be able to use, because then that gives you an idea. Okay. And then it also shows you the homes that they're picking up for that comparable. So that way you can compare your property to what you would need in amenities to be comparable to that property as well.
When you look at that, are you pulling comps like you would for buying a house? Like, are you looking at the furniture? Are you looking at these other things and going, okay, my furniture budget, this is good. I could be easily at 40, 50% occupancy, but at the same time, I'm going to need to drop another $3,000 to $8,000 on that. It's like, how are you looking at that?
Right. And that's where you kind of have to decide, okay, what do I want to make on this property? Because if you're looking at, again, it shows you the properties that it's pulling for comparables, and you're looking at a listing where they have a putt-putt in the back and they have a game room in this, you know what I mean? They're making, let's say, $120,000 a year. It's the same size of a house, the same size of a lot, but that in order to make $120,000 a year, you have to have comparable to that, obviously. So yeah, it's very comparable to, what we do on regular real estate, which is, what are you looking at? Like we do in real estate, it has granite countertops. That one has Formica. So you're not going to get the same price.
That's really good. I was going to ask, length of stay. You said sometimes you do longer term ones, or what is your mainly?
We do sometimes. So the other thing that I do is also do corporate leases. So sometimes people will come and stay for either they're transferring from a place and their company's paying for it. So we do that, or that would be a direct booking. So again, you have to do your own marketing to try and get in with those companies. The other thing is putting in direct bookings with insurance, that sometimes, they'll have a client that their property got damaged. For example, with the freeze, we had several of those come in and needing a place to stay for 3 months. And so it's easy for us to do that direct booking with those people, and it doesn't have to go through the platform.
One of the things I admire about what you do is, like I said, you have an ability in your team to, one, you have the systems and stuff in place that's needed to do this, but you're also always looking for that next lead, I guess you could say, and making sure those relationships are nurtured through, like you said, the corporate and insurance. Right. And it seems like if you can get in there, then you're stabilizing your property more. Right.
Right.
So like, give us a little bit of a strategy of how did you get into doing that? Like, did you just figure that out somewhere and going, this is a better idea, or how does that work?
So one thing I want to say before I answer your question is make sure you have insurance on your own, because you're not doing it through Airbnb. You need to have your insurance just in case anything happens, when you do any direct bookings. And you have to have a contract, set up a contract. You can't just take cash and say, okay, good, you're good to go. So again, just like in anything, do your due diligence, do your contracts, and set them up to make sure that you're not going to have a problem later having them exit the property. But with, what was your question again? I'm sorry, now I got lost on it.
You guys. What was the question? Oh, the one about how you're building these relationships with some of these corporate places and insurance, and like, these people that do claims or whatnot. I mean, it happens. So how do you get into that?
So actually, it was an accident because I mean, a guest tried to stay for a long stay. So in Airbnb, we try to stay within 28 days because then otherwise it's a renter long term, and so you just have to make sure you have everything lined up. So anyways, this lady wanted to stay, and so she just mentioned that there was that her insurance was going to pay for it. So either way, we normally with Airbnb are not allowed to do direct either before an actual booking to give out our phone numbers. As a matter of fact, they'll block it. An email won't work. You know what I mean? And so this lady was creative and she sent me her phone number in like different ways. And so contacted her and then got a hold of the insurance company and we were able to set it up. So then from that one long booking with this lady, I kind of thanked the agent that represented her, sent her a gift, and so now we've gotten establishing that relationship. Now we have more business with her. So now, yes, now I know that I can, do marketing, call some of the other corporate companies that do corporate lease to be able to just offer my services of my homes within our area.
I have a question. That's phenomenal. That's good information. It's all about networking, and we always talk about this on all of our shows. Is networking is the key to grow your business. Network, network, network. You mentioned your team quite a bit. Like, tell us a little bit. Like, what's that look like, and how do you find the cleaning people? Do you use VAs to handle the bookings? Give us a little insight on that.
So I'm a very hands-on person. It's not that I think that I can do it better than anybody else, but I just usually like to do it. So I do quite a bit of the online stuff. The process of bookings, people guess booking and stuff like that. But I do have a team for my cleaners, and it's just cleaners are tough to find, to be honest with you. And again, it's so important to have the right people with you and treat them well so that they can stay with you. And I just I've gone through several cleaning companies, and it's just such a big demand nowadays. I was able to find somebody that is reliable now, and I'm starting to give her a little bit more to do, and again, just kind of training them. And I'm like, eventually we're going to have to train somebody else, and it's just kind of developing more and more into her bringing in more people to help out as well. So that's on the cleaning. The handyman, having handyman on available to you, that's also important. And then of course my partner Donna does a lot of in between her and I, and it's just right now we only have 3 units that keep us busy. And actually, like I said, we started more like a on the side kind of thing, but I've really loved the Airbnb, and she has her own property as well. So we're just developing, well as it is right now. I mean, we had challenges. Everybody had challenges last fall in bookings and vacancies, but things have picked up again. And again, just having the right team especially with cleaners. That's your bread and butter. You have to have good cleaning team so that the property is presentable and you can have good reviews. Because at the end of the day, again, if we don't get a 5-star review, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Let's go into some of the numbers, because you're not doing this just because you like to host people. All right. So what's the fun side? I know you have fun. I know that you're a hospitable person. I swear that, Maria would have 3 or 4 hotels if she really chose to, really wanted to. They'd be in resorts and she would be awesome at it. But what are some of the numbers on these things? Like, okay, we're going to drop money. We're going to spend some money on the furniture, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the positive stuff? This is exciting because I've heard some of the stuff that you're saying. I'm like, wow, that's my whole year of rent for some of my properties.
Right. So again, it's when peak season, obviously you're making amazing. So you have to budget yourself, obviously. You know what I mean? It's like, it's on like anything in sales, right? The averages, right? I mean, you'll have those months where it's a little low, but you have the peak season that's going to bring you up. So if I'm figuring that, I need to make at least 30% minimum in my low months, I can make 40, 50, 60%, on the amazing months. You know what I mean? And it's all about being diligent on changing your prices, being active in, your bookings, again, being a good host, all that, so that you can make your margins really well during the high peak season. And again, in the not so peak, being creative in finding those long-term stays so that you can still make good money, because even with those, we did amazing. I mean, we booked last year was August, September, October. Those were really not so good months. I mean, everybody was complaining about vacancies. A new wave of coronavirus hit, and it was just, nobody wanted to go out anymore, and traveling was halted and all that stuff. But, in doing that, I already know what my good months are for the summer on these houses. I just took those numbers and presented it to the insurance, and they took it. So still made my good margins on those. Again, being creative, finding more and more of what else can you do besides, just relying on Airbnb platform. But yeah, margins can be amazing. I mean, again, summers, 60% margin. I mean, for example, the pool house, we made $12,000 in earnings a month, for those months, and that's, and then on the other house, because they're smaller, we made, for example, $9,000 in earnings. It's only a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So it's just, again, getting creative.
And if you really think about it, Mark, what do you think on some of that, dude?
I'm a big fan of arbitrage. You know me, I love that stuff. I like the arbitrage. I love leveraging and then creating it and just making money. That's why I love this. I like that model where you actually don't have to have a lot of capital to go. You don't have to go buy a property. You don't have to get a loan. You can just kind of create that arbitrage. And I really love that model a lot.
Yes. And you can always leave the property, you know what I mean? If after your 2 years, it didn't turn out to be such a great thing, or you can, you pay to get out of your lease, beforehand if it's not working out, and you're not a long-term commitment of, I have to sell this house, or I have to find a renter, which is not going to pay me the same amount if you pay too much for the house or whatever. It's just an easier thing to get in, take a look at it. I mean, you can always then, reach out to the landlord, and say, hey, do you want to sell the property? Well, as I'm paying you rent, let's talk about buying it in a few years or something like that. If it makes sense for that property.
You know what's crazy? I want to just do a quick story about Airbnb. So my other half sister lives out here in Palm Desert, and she bought her home for 135,000, I think, about I think 14 years ago. And because they're allowed Airbnbs, her neighbor's house went on the market and sold for 1.2 million. They had a pool, and it was an Airbnb. They went and bought it, so she went and put hers on the market. Within a week, she ended up. It didn't have a pool, but it had. It was a larger home, so she went and put it on the market. She got 1,010,000, and now, but they wanted her out in 10 days. Because of where she's at, they had, I guess, is it Stagecoach? You ever heard of that Stagecoach concert they have out there? It's that big thing. And then but anyways, I guess they get $1,000 a night, and it's like 2 weeks of this. So they're like, okay, we want you out in 10 days. And they purchased it furnished as is. And she got over $1 million for it. So she's like, all right, I'm taking that capital, going to buy a brand new house, build the brand new house at Lennar, twice the size for $609,000, because they allowed an Airbnb. It's like close to Indian Wells, for the tennis tournament. So it's a key area. So I was just shocked, like the amount of money people are just throwing into the Airbnbs. And as 20% of homes out there being purchased are by companies, the Airbnb model, and then some of these hedge funds, for the rentals.
Right. And it's so important that you said that, they were asking for a particular time because they wanted to take advantage on those particular days. So for example, something I learned, our landlord wouldn't allow us to get in before June of last year on our pool house. So guess what happened? We missed the 4th of July weekend. That was easily probably $1,200 that we didn't make. You know what I mean? On 2 days, for example. So yeah, very important when you get into the properties, what is going on in the area so that you can take advantage of, those up prices on those particular days.
That's what I
So
was going to ask is how often are you adjusting your price, or you use one of those metrics programs? I know there's some of those that are out there that can help you adjust your price for the area. Can you help with that? Because that's the part for me that just is almost that's the part for me that I'm going, I don't know if I have enough time to research.
Right. We use Price Lab. So Price Lab, does adjust the prices.
Is that an app or what is that?
No, it's a service. It's a service. So you pay, I can't think it's like $9 per listing or something like that a month.
Like pricelab.com or something?
Pricelab.com. And so it'll pick up all the, comps in the area and stuff and just kind of give you an average. You put your perimeters. Obviously, you have still control over it. But the thing with Airbnb platform is you can't just set it and forget it. You know what I mean? You have to constantly be doing something because the algorithms are always needing to be stimulated and get going. You know what I mean? So I'm always on the Airbnb platform, changing a picture, moving a picture, adding words, changing the prices, adding discounts at the last minute. So all that is on the price strategy form that you need to kind of learn and educate yourself of.
I get a question. If you don't mind, just maybe do a quick minute of what kind of tools that people are, when they get into Airbnb or the short-term rentals, what are the different tools that everybody should do? And so we can kind of drop some of this into the chat for everybody.
So, for example, like I said, AirDNA is a good one to be able to run your comps. A Price Lab, and we use oh my gosh, what is the name of it? It used to be I don't have it handy. Smart. Darn it, I can't remember. I'll put it on here because I can't remember right now. They were one company and then now another. So basically, when you booking comes in, it'll reply automatically. So that way, Hospitable, that's what it was. Hospitable, we use Hospitable. So that you show on the algorithms that, you are fast at responding because Airbnb collects that information as well to be able to pick up on the algorithms.
And Smart B&B Hospitable?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that used to be hospitable.com or something?
It used to be at Smart B&B, and I think it's now Hospitable.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, what else? I mean, of course, and always educate yourself. I mean, there's so much information on YouTube. Find yourself a mentor. We have a mentor that, we have. So we're always learning new things and new strategies, adding, finding out what are the new things that Airbnb is offering. Again, just education, network with people that are doing, Airbnb. It's just a matter of everything is
I want people to see the part of how, when people look at their first Airbnb, remember whenever you were first in it, heads over heel, you're in it. How do you get to go on a vacation to Louisiana for half a month? And you don't have to show up anymore. And what is that growth? And we're about to come to a close. So I just kind of want to encourage those who are looking at doing it that they don't have to be there every day.
Right. Again, having a good cleaning crew, having a handyman, having somebody that can, do stuff for you while you're not around. If you don't want to do it at all, you know what I mean? Just have somebody on your staff your team that is available to do those things. For example, that the guest needs something right there and then. Well, you already offered to do anything you can to earn that 5-star review. Then you need to have the people to do that for you.
Got it.
And then, of course, like I said, I mean, everything else is done through remote, through the Airbnb platform. The price lab and all that stuff is amazing that you can just go put yourself a reminder in the morning, do that in the morning before your day starts, or, but just everything is done, is doable. I mean, at the beginning, it was hard because, we were thinking we weren't going to be able to make enough money, but you have cleaning fees that you collect from your guests that are directly from there, so you can make this work. I mean, especially work remote. It's amazing.
How many more would you get before like things really have to change? Because I know you do a lot of different stuff. Because you're just amazing and you do a lot of stuff. So are you looking at picking up like 10, 15, 20, maybe 3 or 4 more? I mean, you're doing a pretty good lifestyle.
Well, I mean, definitely, I definitely want to do 3 more here within the next year or so in Lake Conroe, starting with my own home since I'm spending so much time in Louisiana and it's in Lake Conroe. So yeah, definitely. But those would be of my own. Right now, I'm still with my partner on the other ones, and we're still looking for more properties actually for our business on the site. But I mean, being closer to Lake Conroe, those are where I want to find some more for myself. And again, I don't want to do the managing. I'm looking to transfer this to a managing company as well. So you can always do that, you know what I mean? And just pay a fee for having somebody handle all of your Airbnb. So you can be an off hands, Airbnb host, so that's
cool.
a possibility.
That's cool. Mark, you got anything before we wrap up?
No, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough. I've actually learned quite a bit of stuff on this too. So thank you so much for sharing. And
you convinced Mark. Mark loves arbitrage. He loves lease options. He's already in it, so he does a lot of lease options, Maria. And we actually talked about that our last show. And now he's probably going, how much more money can I make?
Yes, I mean, definitely. If you have the systems in place, if you have the right people, everything is, doable. And like I said, I mean, the amazing part is your property has eye on it all the time, unlike the long-term renter. So it makes a lot more profits.
True. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining in. Guys, we show up every Tuesday at 11 Central. That's 12 o'clock Eastern time. The Real Estate Power Play, we're on Facebook, YouTube, you name it. Like us. And then also, if you have other questions that you want us to answer for your real estate career, whether it be more lease option or more Airbnb or other strategies, lending, other things that you need to know, let us know, ask us questions. We'll be happy to help you guys out. And we're going to put Maria's information in there so that way you guys could bug her and get her contact info, because she is one of the best givers that I know of just helping people grow in their businesses. So thank you so much, Maria. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.